These cops are criminals. I am sick. And I can't use the word. I'm just sick and tired of this two-tiered justice system in America. If you're part of the federal system, if you're part of the police, you have a different standard of justice than everyone else. And there needs to be something done about it. My weapon is a camera. That's what I want to shoot the police with. I think it needs to be a social norm where everyone, when you see a police stop, I think a film cop is an honest cop. Everyone needs to pull out their camera and film it. Maybe nothing will come out of it, but I would rather film something and not need it than need to take your camera out of your pocket.
And that is what your journalist group does. Is
yes.
You hold accountable police officers with your cameras.
Absolutely.
And that is why you went to Ferguson, is you wanted to hold police officers accountable for what was happening. Now, you were saying to me, so now we know that they were breaking a law. They were breaking civil rights in order to protest. They were plotting against people. They were keeping the media out, basically keeping them from their First Amendment rights or their amendment to free press. So we see two violations there by the police officers. And yet these guys are scumbags. I'm hearing on the air tonight, these guys that are protesting are scumbags. Tell me about what we were seeing tonight. I saw a police car. That was the first thing we see is a police car go up in flames.
Sure.
Now, you were telling me that when you were there in Ferguson, that there are certain things that happen that you were watching and you couldn't believe what you were watching, that basically what happens, the police have a little give here. They do something called a little give to the protesters. What do they give them? They give them the opportunity to do acts of property destruction. And it's a pattern I've seen over and over again at protest. This Ferguson wasn't my first rodeo. I was part of the Occupy movement. I started activist videography in 2007. So what I've seen police do at large protest is they'll give themselves the gift of a little bit of leeway. They'll allow the crowd to break something and then they'll film it. I watched on a live stream tonight this pattern unfold again. Okay. On live stream, I was watching the police. They formed a hard line on the opposite side of a police car and left the police car alone with the protesters. So naturally, mob mentality will take over, and they burned this police car, and now the police have this justification that they can use to kick people's butts for the next month. And that's the gift they gave themselves. They gave themselves the gift of a burning police car. Now, also, you were saying, too, they also leave certain places that are easier, I guess, to be looted.
Sure.
They leave them open for the protesters or the looters to do that, so they have another excuse. But you were telling me that you noticed that there were people who were just citizens who were standing in front of businesses doing the policeman's job by beating up and throwing down those who tried to loot.
Absolutely. If your listeners can go to I Am Mike Brown at Ustream, which is a site that live streams video, you can watch Citizens of Ferguson. That is I Am Mike Brown on the website Ustream. You can watch that live feed that's up right now. When it's done recording, you can skip around and find a spot. But there's 30 or 40 Citizens of Ferguson protecting 3 restaurants from being looted.
Right.
Okay. I saw when I was there in August, organized groups of people from Ferguson. A lot of these people kind of look like gangbangers to me, the ones that were actually standing in front of the businesses.
So we had gangbangers beating up thugs.
You had gangbangers against thugs trying to keep them from breaking store windows. I mean, it's surreal. And I was just taken aback watching this community take care of itself. Something I also saw was little girls pushing around wheelbarrows with bottled water. You found this community rendering mutual aid to itself because people were forced to do this forced march in this circle.
So it's kind of like a war zone. You have people giving people water and food, and they go back out and do the battle and come back.
Yeah, they were like, little Madame Curie carts, little girls pushing the little wheelbarrows with water, giving it to people.
Journalist Mike Smith's with us tonight on Ground Zero. He a former Ground Zero journalist, actually, out on the ground there in Ferguson, back here to speak with us about what's happening tonight and what happened back in August. If you have any questions, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more. Keep it right here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.